Welcome to an episode of Acid Hits Discussion Zone, and in this discussion zone, I'm going to be going into and encouraging discussion of the very important and very global issue of nuclear weapons and nuclear power. Now, this was prompted by a new video from a bunch of people talking about getting a complete disarmament of all nuclear weapons around the world, and of course it's not an easy issue by any stretch of the imagination. A part of the problem is that there are a lot of countries that want nuclear weapons and power because they think that that's what will make them one of the big players in the global scene. And of course the countries that have nuclear weapons don't want to completely disarm because they're always going to be worried about what everybody else is going to do with theirs. So really what this comes down to is that everybody in the entire world needs to understand the dangers of nuclear weapons and nuclear power. And because, of course, nuclear power also is not an easy issue because it is very clean compared to like coal or oil burning, natural gas power, all that stuff. Comparatively, it is far less polluting. On the other hand, every single nuclear power plant has the potential to render vast regions of the planet uninhabitable for thousands of years. So, it's really, you have to consider all of the possibilities. And it just isn't an easy issue, which is why it should be discussed intelligently. So, I don't want to see any bickering on this, and I'm going to link to a board on my website that I've made especially for this issue, and in support of the Global Zero movement, which is what it's called, which is to disarm all nuclear weapons. And I think the first thing that needs to be done is, I really think that at least one of the major TV networks, or possibly all of them, at least in the United States, in the BBC, if people really want to take this seriously, there needs to be a real combined effort to educate people first and foremost, okay? This should be on every single major broadcasting network in the United States, the BBC, even Al Jazeera, if you could get them on board. All of the major broadcasting networks, and show things like the documentary about Chernobyl. Get documentaries together, if they don't exist, about the after effects of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Show people the effects of radiation poisoning. The Russian submarines that leaked radiation. Show what happened to the people that were on those submarines, how they died. Show people the effects of the cancers and the birth defects and the mutations of people who have, areas that have been exposed to large amounts of radiation. This stuff is real. The information is out there, but nobody wants to talk about it because it's hard to talk about it. But it needs to be discussed. It needs to be shown. People need to see these things. People need to see people being burned alive by radiation sickness. It's a horrible thing. And anybody that can see that and ever want to use a nuclear weapon again should be taken out and fucking shot, in my opinion, because it is one of the most horrific things you will ever see a person going through. Okay? A whole week, every major broadcaster in the United States, Discovery Channel, the BBC, Al Jazeera, I'm sure there's tons of networks that I've never heard of around the world, all of them. Get them all on board and spend an entire week showing documentaries and have people talking about their experiences. Show people what nuclear weapons and nuclear power catastrophes can do. Because that's the only way you're going to get real discussion going on a global level about this sort of thing is you have got to expose people to the reality of it, good and bad. And then maybe once the whole world has seen the effects of radiation sickness, once the whole world has seen what nuclear weapons can do to people and things, then maybe they'll understand why they cannot ever be used again. Okay, so that is what I want you to talk about. I want you to discuss it in the comments on this video. I want you to come to my website and talk about it. I want you to go to other websites you know and use and talk about it. This needs to be discussed. It needs to be out. It needs to be talked about. It needs to be exposed to everyone. People need to stop hiding from things just because they're hard. It's an extremely serious issue. A very important topic. So you need to get your asses out there everywhere you possibly can and learn about it and talk about it. Understand it. Okay? Because I'm not one of the people that thinks that nothing can ever change. The world changes every day. Time just keeps on rolling along. You're not going to stop change. You're not going to stop progress unless you let people destroy progress and advancement. And by being fatalistic and thinking nothing's ever going to change, you're not ever going to change anything. The only thing you have to do to change the world is try. So why don't you stop telling yourself you can't do anything and start trying to do something?